my friends. Hey, welcome to Iowa 2024. This is the kickoff to the political season for, oh my God, it's a horrible mess. I mean, oh Lord, it's a horrible mess. The weather out here is just frightful. It's a little late for the holidays, but it's terrible out there. Like I said, I bunkered in. The wife and I have been pretty much shut in for the past 4 days. We went out yesterday for a brief trip to the store, and damn near got stuck at the end of the street trying to get back onto the street because the plowing is still pretty harsh. They have done the very basics, but they have yet to come back and hit all the side streets that they usually do. They will get to it. The drifting and stuff. The blizzard yesterday it's just finally the blizzard conditions have moved on. It's off to the east now. Illinois, Indiana, y'all are welcome to it. It's a rare event for Iowa. It's they said once in a decade kind of storm. I buy that. It's not often we get hammered 2 snowstorms back to back within such a short period of time. It almost 20 odd inches of snow, which is like a huge amount for central Iowa, for where I'm at. But it was what it was. Meanwhile, our entire town and stuff is full of people, and for the caucus, the Republican Party, most of the main candidates are here. A couple candidates nobody gives a shit about are here. A couple people that I have to call. Okay. How the hell did you ever think you had a serious chance in hell in the current age of America, politics of being president? I don't know. But one thing I want to point out, and it kind of rattles around in my brain a little bit. I know if you're not a devout American Christian, and there's a huge difference in Christianity in America, and we can do entire videos on that subject as to my opinions of it. I'm not an expert by any means, just from observations and experience, right? Anyway, the Christians that just sit there and say, well, you're a Christian, is not really sufficient. No more than it's saying is you're an American. Because you're an American from Texas, or an American from Maine, or an American from the Deep South, or the High Midwest. Your values, your views, your worldviews vary considerably. Some places are far more closed off on purpose from the greater world than others. And then that's a sad thing, and in a lot of ways dangerous. There's plenty of stories that go around about putting your head in the sand about what happens to the ostrich who buries their head. Right? Just saying. So my fellow Americans, Christians, I want you to consider Matthew 7:15 through 20. So I'm not a person who memorized the damn Bible, but I've had enough of it quoted to me and around me in my lifetime to be confident in a lot of things that I believe that the general mainstream Christianity is supposed to teach. Specifically, since most of our teachings are anchored in the New Testament and not the Old Testament. And there is a huge disconnect there when the people who don't understand when they talk about Americans in the Christian faith is to understand the real differences in the depths of how that can vary, just how that can vary. And even within the accepted parameters of the given Christian church. Now, Pentecostal church, which is what I was raised up in, and still the belief that my faith is based in the Pentecostal faith, is that we're a little bit nuts, a little bit touched. We get more deeper into our spirituality, whereas we have a lot in common with Baptists and Baptist church in many ways, some quite fundamental differences. But Matthew 7 says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. Oh, this is something my grandfather liked to quote quite often. And being an old school country semi-country because they lived on the east. They lived on the east and the lower east side of Des Moines and the bottoms. They were in the lower end of the financial brackets. Grandpa was a mechanic. Tried to have a couple times. He tried to have his own garage. It never quite took off. Him and Grandma raised 7 kids in a tiny, tiny house with less footage than my house. The house still sits there, still exists over on the far side of town. I could take a video of it. Go over and do a video from the parking lot across the street and creep people out from it. But I grew up at that location. Many summers and many winters, I spent numerous weeks at my grandma and grandpa's. I was a grandpa boy. I really was. I was attached to him for a lot of reasons, and being that we lived so far east of there, as far as the rest of our family was concerned, we lived on the Mars because we lived about 12, 15 miles further east in a small town. So we would come in for the summers, and I would often spend 2-3 weeks at a time. And I would spend a week over at my aunt and uncle's house with my cousins, and then I'd go to my grandparents' house for another week, and then I'd finagle a way to go back to my aunt and uncle's house or a different aunt and uncle's house, just to stay out of the little honky town, for part of the summer, and mostly because everybody had air conditioning, but us. There were other issues and some not so healthy issues involved in some of that stuff too. So anyway, you're welcome to Iowa, and we are being bombarded by political ads, and they're getting pretty nasty. And the most interesting part of in recent memory, I cannot honestly tell you, I can remember is a tenth of the attack ads aimed against each other in the Republican primaries than we're seeing now. I mean, I'm literally being bombarded by them. And I was watching a YouTube podcast a little bit ago before I was eating breakfast, and they were going on about something that Haley or this what's her face here said or didn't say, and they're spun it up, and then they said if you go and look at what they did, is they literally took the very only briefest component of it, and then left the rest of her reply off the video. So when you replay the new video, it sounds like she's blatantly agreeing with something that she did not agree with, because the rest of the sentence is being manipulated. And of course they says, well, these other so they were attributing this potential attack ad to one of the rival camps that are just becoming more and more vicious against each other. And then it dawned on me, says, look, I'm not a hacker, I'm not a PR guy, I'm not a specialist in any of this kind of mumbo wizzery, whatever you want to call this stuff. But it does, from common sense or from a layman's observer's position, I wondered if them kind of ads wouldn't be the prime example of ads that have been manipulated by third parties. So we know that there's a lot of we know that there's a lot of chicanery going on between the North Koreans, the Chinese, and the Russians. Although I think the Chinese do a lot. Personally, I have the opinion the Chinese probably do this far less than what they're getting blamed for. Are they involved in stuff? Yeah, and I think most of their cyber stuff is focused on the intellectual rights and corporations. They don't care about blackmailing us so much and super secrets. They want the industrial secrets that make their shit easier to manufacture and cheaper for them to develop. So why not continue focusing most of your efforts in the areas you really financially need to be right now? Because their financial situation is having some issues, from what I'm saying. The North Koreans, though, shit, yeah, you gotta figure Chim Cham Hoom, or I can't pronounce his name, so yeah, he damn well he likes Trump. He's probably thinking we need to help that man get back in office. Damn well Putin's all for it. So if you've got foreign parties involving themselves in American politics, some of the easiest things for them to do is to manipulate the very video ads and shit that you see. I'm just pointing out what seems to be an obvious logic for me that doesn't always seem so obvious to a lot of other people, or so I have noticed. Right? So that in that venue, last few weeks, let's say the last month, I started watching where a lot of my, because I do a lot of I'm out in the field, I'm doing a lot of driving around, so I've got YouTube podcast stuff going on a lot, and it bounces all over the places, which is I want different sources, and I don't want them always on the same page. I want to hear what other people's views on something is, so we can see just how far apart things are really becoming or are. So in that aspect, you get fed suggestions for things all the time because of the algorithms that manage all this stuff. And I started watching who's the YouTube channel that's producing the material. So there's a lot of these third-party websites that are YouTube creators that suddenly they sound like they should be in I don't know, in fashion or something, or exciting foreign travel, as opposed to MSBN or Fox News or 400 other established ones. So when I started looking at that, and I got thinking, okay, so these people are they're just cutting and pasting small tidbits from the networks to their own channel in hopes of, I don't know, of generating a bunch of revenue for themselves, and basically it's not plagiarizing, it's just stealing somebody else's content and make a profit off of it. Or these are being manipulated by people in AI programs and software programs that know how to manipulate crap to say things that were not quite what the original actual videos were saying. Well, would they do that? Would they do that? Well, I don't know. Because it kind of seems like that's the sort of thing they would and can and probably should be doing. So, to that end, please don't show me this video again. Not interested. I tell YouTube, don't ever show me that channel again. I don't want to see that provider because I don't trust the source of the material. Now, that's perhaps one of those paranoia things that kicked up when we get into the damn country where we're all freaking paranoid about freaking everything. So it would seem, right? All right, so here we are. I believe the caucus starts tomorrow night, Monday night, when we brew the last coal out there. I know one thing is I ain't working tomorrow night. Even if my truck is done, it ain't working tomorrow night. Not with this. It's this 20 below stuff. Not doing it. I don't know exactly what else to do, but I know I can't be out all night in that stuff. I just can't. Anyway, so Mr. Trump, former president, soon to be convict, having going to inevitably serve time. I'm just pointing out the obvious glaring shit here. Yeah, there's a two-party system when it comes to, there's a a two-phase system when it comes to the judicial system in America, but it ain't because it's just everybody against Trump and Trump. Now, Trump is a prime example of somebody with a shitload of money getting a whole lot of special freaking treatment that you and I and Dupree would not get. You, your brother-in-law, your neighbor across the street, that a-hole that you eye over every now and then when you're at the store and you're not sure, you don't know who that is. You don't even know who they are, but there's just something about them that just kind of set your hackles up. Yeah, all of us, them included, that weird-ass cousin of yours that nobody ever really wants to talk to, but has some interesting crap to say once in a while. We all sing. We poor. If you're lucky enough that you're, in the six-digit figures for a year, you're sitting good, and you still might be poor. Our system is really whacked and wicked in that way, because we are geared from birth. We are spoon-fed and then fire-hosed for our entire lifetimes of this never being totally happy with what we have, and always thinking there should be something better. And then we get taken advantage of so damn much by so many greedy fucks out there that we become almost inured to it, to the point where we're sadists in a lot of aspects. So Mr. Trump here, like this, he full well knows he's got the numbers on his side. Enough of the diehard MAGA base, and I'm being honest, these guys ain't Republicans anymore. At some point they crossed the Rubicon, right? They made their way across the Delaware. Just something like, maybe, just maybe, this might be their Arnheim. If you don't know any of them references, well, that's on you. You're not a fan of history or World War II or any other thing. Yeah, well, once again, that's on you, not me. Don't care. Sorry. That's the real world truth, because you sure as hell don't give a damn about me and my problems for the most part. And why should you? Right? Anyway, so Mr. Trump, former President Trump, would-be dictator Trump, Mr. Trump, everybody, we're number one. MAGA's number one. Come on, get used to it, because this ass clown gets elected. Yeah. All right. I'll tell you right now, my whole tune will change. I'll sing the heavens of the great leaders and how awesome everything is going to be, and we're all going to sing Kumbaya, and all the white middle-aged fat guys like me are all going to enjoy. Because what else am I going to do? Do what I can do now? Are you doing what you can do? Are you doing what you can do to keep that horrific dystopian future from occurring? Because we still on a fine wire, because it's going to be bad, and it'll be just almost as bad even if he does, if he loses, when he loses, the disconnect for a big chunk of America is going to be bad. So the worst scenario is that he loses, and the next guy that steps up, picks up his banner, is worse. And worse and better, and much better at doing the stuff that Trump wasn't about. But he's in Iowa, sorta. He's avoiding going up and having a conversation with these other candidates, because, and I think he's right for doing this. In one political move perspective, they're not his peers. They're just not. And at best, maybe they get some kind of position in his establishment. The truth is, the odds are really against that too. Trump is not that sort of guy. He's not known for rewarding these people unless one of them at the 11th hour somehow or another turns something so it benefits Trump and screws over the others. At that point, Trump would notice them at that point. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. Now there's this guy, this Binkley guy. Now this is another much more milder version of Speaker Johnson. Still don't know a whole lot about his history, personal history and stuff, because he's not that high level of on the radar for anybody. He is a Christian, and he's a Christian pastor, and he's another one of these believers. I just know if you just take a moment and you pray and ask God to give you the advice you need, you will make the right choice. So he's leaving that as a carte blanche to say to make the right choice. Well, Reverend Blankley, Pastor Blankley, I have to ask you. I am a born-again Christian and a Pentecostal, and I do know some of my Bible verses, and I believe and I have faith. Although I do not believe in the church, I do not believe in the institution of man that has been corrupted and fouled, something fierce from what it ought to be, and it's not. And it's been going on for a while before this MAGA movement just kind of swept it up. It found a home in MAGA, but it's been festering for a minute, for a long minute. So this fella here would bring you theocracy, and everything he would do would be measured by his interpretation of God's will, because God talks to him every day and tells him what to do. and he honestly believes, because if he doesn't honestly believe, so here's the difference between a lot of Christians and people like Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson is Ned Flanders on steroids. Mike Johnson honestly, truly believes, and he's a devout person of the faith. Most Christians hedge. We talk the talk, and we walk the walk when we need to or when we believe we're being observed. Just being truthful, and you know I'm being right here. It's not always easy to be that damn, sanctimonious. So, his ads pop up, and mostly they revolve around faith. Him saying, do what God would have you do. And I ask the same thing over and over again. Would Jesus really do the stuff that these people say he would do? Would Jesus walk down the middle of Main Street America with an AR-15 in his, over his shoulder? Would he? Would Jesus condone any of this mass shooting crap that's happened? I mean, just last week we had a shooting here in Pella and in Perry, Iowa. So it happens all over, including here in the middle of the deep red Midwest or whatever the hell it is. So, would Jesus do any of this crap? These guys, in a lot of ways, they worry me more than Trump does. At least Trump gets to be a dictator. We know what Trump will. He'll be just pure, greedy, self-centered a-hole. He won't. His agenda is pretty direct. You get these neo-Nazi, fascist, Christian, nationalist, what the hell else you want to call them, people in charge, you're going to get really bad and really ugly. That brings us to this fine fellow, Vivek. The Vivek. They've run an ad of Vic's a piano teacher. I taught him all he knows about politics. Or all I know is about the Constitution. Love the Constitution. Right? Yeah. Now I had a Bible study, teacher. We all went to her house once a week. I can't remember. It was so long ago. We were all so tiny, so young. Forget the hell what it was called. And then some years later, she retired, and we all went to another guy's house that was doing it. And they never bothered to even bring anything up about the Constitution. So I guess you had to be a musician or want to be a pianist to have any conversations about politics of things of substance in the real world. And maybe not. But no offense, Vivek. First off, you're a blatant charlatan and a blatant liar, and you don't even do it well. That's the sad part. You're so directly bullshit that it just flops off you every time you open your mouth. And of course, like I said, welcome to Iowa, my friend. Vivek, in Iowa, a lot of us know what the hell BS is. I've seen plenty of bullshit in my life. I hear bullshit every day. I fling a lot of bullshit myself. It's real hard to bullshit a bullshitter. That is an honest saying here in Iowa. Just saying. It's another old Iowa farm boy conversation piece that's been going around since I was a kid. If it came from somewhere else, I don't care. it's something as Iowa's apple pie and corn nuts are, right? So anyway, then I have to be honest. Because that has always been one of my biggest problems, because I have 100 opinions and I back them with what I really feel about stuff. And, it's just easier to be blatantly out forward and say, look, than to sit there and try to lie and jiff and huff and make excuses for people and their shit. I just ain't doing that crap. So, in this aspect, Vivek here, no offense, dude, I don't know in what world you think you got any chance in hell of getting elected by a bunch of redneck white boys. I mean, really? The big chunk of the Republican Party would not vote for you ever. Not in their lifetimes, not in your lifetime, probably not in your children's lifetime. Especially since somebody like you that just flat out come out of the left field and is so flamboyantly bullshit that it's funny to watch you because you're so full of bullshit. That's the only amusing part about it. But there are, I'm sorry, but the white middle class, good old boy network in America is never going to elect this guy. Ever. It's the same thing that's going to happen to anyone. And I say this with honesty and understanding. I find brothers out there, the African American, you know, it wasn't redneck America that elected Obama to office. It was mainstream, middle class, upper class, blue collar, white collar, diversified America. You know, I don't agree with a lot of the Democratic Party's pathway and philosophies on things, mostly because I'm truly to believe that they've been corrupted and subjected by the deep money that runs the corporations in America. I mean, you only have to watch and see that what they do and they don't do, and how it truly benefits has more benefits to the wealthy and the corporations than it is for the average American, regardless how they spend it up, right? You know, we're going to create jobs. We're going to we're going to rebuild the infrastructure. Awesome. So where did all the money go? Into the pockets of the big honking ass corporations who did what? Invested in a whole bunch of new equipment, built some new, what? No, they hired a bunch of people back, meh, at lower wages, probably, but hey, they created some jobs, and those jobs are great. The road crews will work for a couple of years, and then the money runs out, and then what? And we didn't care about that long-term shit. Hey, it's all stuff we need. I'm not going to disavow that. We definitely need some serious construction work. Iowa's got all kinds of infrastructure work going on these days, and I suspect a lot of it's at the on the federal dollar. Even though our governor's become really picky and choosy about some federal dollars. I mean, federal money that was meant to help poor kids eat during the summertime. Well, we don't want that because it's not well thought out. It's not healthy for them. So Vivek, give it up, dude. I mean, I think you already given it up. You're still hanging into the last minute, and I'm not sure what your game plan is, but I know damn well that you're just a ghost, and you're not going to get any clearer, right? And then there's this fella here, right? This Ashton Hutchinson, Hutchison, former governor of somewhere, right? He's a former governor of somewhere. I'm sure it's a state that's important. They're all important, right? Right, Kentucky? Right, Mississippi? You're all important. You're all special. It's okay. The rest of the country's got your back because, because, if you guys actually succeeded in breaking away from the other half of the country and you think shit's bad now. Yeah, because where's most of the money coming from? It ain't the red states. They're saying. So this guy, he's been bouncing every now and then we'll hear a small ad, but very little. Lately, it's he's been driving his truck around the state, blah, blah, blah. This time to get trying to get on with the insanity. At the end of the day, who's it gonna come down to? I think it'll come down to Nikki Haley and DeSantis. DeSantis is his own worst enemy, and everything's just losing traction for him. He's gonna crap out, and that'll be that, right? That'll be that, and Bob Drunkle. Now Nikki Haley will become number 2, and whether or not she thinks that Trump's going to make her to the vice president, I don't know. But for me, Nikki Haley is so fake. She's whatever. Well, what do you want me to say? Well, what do you mean? What we want you to say? You're the politician. You're supposed to blow smoke up her butt and tell us it's sunshine, right? You're supposed to be slick enough to be able to figure that shit out on your own. To get stumped by the, trying to make well, what was the Civil War about? Yeah, it was about the various states wanting to control over their government and how they function and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that was very true. It's the facts. But that's not the accepted, reason. The reason accepted in American history today is slavery. The simplest term is the war was fought over slavery. And then you get into all the arguments she said about the states' rights, this, that, and the other thing. Is that, yeah, the states wanted to have rights to own slaves. Hence, it was over the slaves. Slavery. You can't spin some things, Haley. And the fact you don't know that, or you knew that, but still was desperate enough to try because you were so caught off guard, it just tells me you're not ready to be a damn president. And right now, frankly, let's just be honest. I don't think any of these people really are suited to be president. I think the least of them would be the most likeliest to be best president. I hate to say it, would have been Chris Christie, but everybody goes, okay, but I'm just being honest. If we get if any of these people, except to maybe the former governor here, maybe him, we'll get rid of him. But any of these other people get in charge, I don't see how it's going to be any better than if Trump was in charge. Because the argument will be is that the agenda people behind that's pushing the 2025 agenda thing for changing how the government functions will push through this anyway, confident that whomever's Republicans manage to get in as president will go along with it because it benefits them in the long run. Well, that's fine, but in the short term, it does not benefit everybody, and it just makes things worse and worse to the point where we will not have truly not have any more honest elections. If it'll just be elections in name only, and who will our candidates be? Republicans, and then mostly punk ass stuff versus the one established big boss. Just saying, think about it. Well, come on. It just irritates me to know.